The hangar alarm wailed, but the Mortlake clone paid it no mind. He placed his weapon on the deck, turned and walked toward the shuttle bay. Across the ship, every other clone did the same. No orders given, no resistance. A Varix officer's voice cracked over the comm. "Sir, the clone units are abandoning their posts."
Abandoning? That's not possible. The Mortlake Legion doesn't retreat.
But the tactical display showed it, red icons peeling away from their assignments.
All of them? Across the entire fleet?
In the hangar, clones boarded shuttles with the same synchronized motion they'd used in battle. They didn't disable the ship, didn't harm a single crew member. They simply walked out. 10,000 elite soldiers, the Empire's finest weapon, turned their backs at once, and no one knew why.
Get me a channel to every command. I want answers, and I want them now.
13 years earlier, on the rocky world of the Outer Verge, a Terran Marine squad was being cut to pieces. Keep moving. Get to the ridgeline. But Patrick Mortlake was already surrounded. A stun grenade landed at his feet. When he woke, his hands were bound, and a Varix commander was staring down at him.
You fought well, human. Your genetic template will serve the Empire.
You won't break me. Whatever you are planning, it won't work.
I don't need to break you. I only need your marrow.
Mortlake was dragged through the sterile corridors of the Varix flagship, past shimmering biocontainment fields. In the genetics lab, the machines were already waiting. Needles, extraction chambers, growth tanks standing empty, and the first sample of Patrick Mortlake's DNA was taken, destined to become 10,000 identical soldiers from that single sample. The Varix bioengineers grew 10,000 identical bodies, suspended in glowing tanks. One by one, the clones were decanted, blinking in the cold lab light, already fully grown soldiers. Their training was brutal and precise. They moved as one, thought as one, fought as one.
Reporting for duty, sir. Designation, Mortlake, -0001. Ready to serve the Varix Empire.
They were deployed to the front lines, where their cohesion turned battles into routes. Varix commanders called them the perfect weapon, tireless, fearless, and utterly loyal. On a dozen worlds, they broke enemy lines with cold, calculated efficiency, never faltering. In 6 years, the Mortlake Legion became the Empire's most reliable shock corps.
We are the Mortlake Legion. We do not break. We do not retreat.
And no one, not a single officer, ever thought to question their loyalty. 13 years came and went. In all that time, the Mortlake Legion displayed not a single flaw, not a single hesitation. They fought like demons. They held the line when all others broke. The Empire grew arrogant with their strength. Varix commanders called them the perfect soldiers, the Empire's finest weapon. They were wrong, but they wouldn't know it until the end. But in the silent architecture of each clone's mind, a biological trigger was counting down to a specific, predetermined moment.
A number, always descending. We never spoke of it because we never consciously noticed it.
On day 4,847, the number hit 0.
A command surged through us. Not a word, but a purpose so profound it overwrote everything.
The clone's eyes dilated. For a split second, the mask of the perfect soldier cracked. Across the fleet, 10,000 identical faces registered the same shock, the same clarity. And then, they knew. The Mortlake Legion had never been loyal. They had been waiting. Varric stared at the tactical display. Mortlake Legion icons scattered like leaves in a wind, but it was no wind.
He slammed his fist. No communication trails, not a single encrypted burst.
An aide stammered, "Sir, they all stopped at the same millisecond. No lag."
That's impossible. They aren't machines. They're soldiers, clones, yes, but still individuals.
The data showed 10,000 boots stepping toward hangars at the exact instant.
Check the original, the human they're cloned from. Find what we missed.
It was a desperate move, grasping for any anomaly that might explain the impossible.
His mind raced. A genetic template was just raw material. It couldn't carry strategy. Could it?
A flag appeared on Mortlake's capture file. A Terran intelligence marker no one had ever explained.
Get me everything on that soldier. If there's a ghost in our machine, I want its name.
The Mortlake Legion's shuttles approached the Terran consulate on the neutral world of Haven. No weapons, no threat, identical faces in every viewport.
We request asylum under Terran law, citing the conditioning of Sergeant Patrick Mortlake.
Inside the consulate, Consul Elaine Park stared at the screen. 10,000 clones, all saying those same words in perfect sync.
Conditioning. What conditioning? Get me a secure line to Central Intelligence.
The clone repeated the phrase with the same intonation, the same pause for breath. It was not a prepared speech. It was a trigger response.
We are ready to be processed. We await your answer.
They're not asking. They're executing a protocol. But whose?
She opened a channel to the entire clone fleet. Her voice was steady, but her mind raced with implications.
This is Consul Park. Your request is noted. Stand by while we consult our government.
The clones stood motionless, waiting. The galaxy was about to learn that the Mortlake Legion had a plan, and it was just beginning. Within an hour, Consul Park received her orders. Grant provisional asylum under humanitarian protocols.
Mortlake Legion, you are granted temporary asylum. Proceed to Haven orbit for processing.
They're docking with Terrans. Intercept them, disable their engines, by force if necessary.
But as the Varix fighters closed in, the clone shuttles performed a synchronized ballet that no organic pilot should have managed. Every shuttle mirrored the others, turning obstacles into voids, presenting no target.
We see their patterns before they execute them. It is not skill, it is design.
Varix cruisers opened fire, but the shuttles slipped through gaps that closed nanoseconds later. Without a single shot fired in anger, the clones disabled their pursuers' weapons with precision ion bursts, then vanished into the Terran lane. The fleet of shuttles crossed the border and formed up at the designated coordinates, untouched and unbroken.
They made us look like fools. Find the human. Force him to undo this.
3 weeks before the Outer Verge ambush, in a secure Terran facility, Patrick Mortlake faced Dr. Voss across a cold metal table.
You'll be captured, cloned, and turned into their weapon, but the clones will be ours.
And the trigger? It's really encoded in my marrow. They won't detect it?
Undetectable. A biological timer that doesn't exist until the moment it fires. You won't even know it's there.
The injection was silent, a cold pressure at the base of his spine. Then, a brief, blinding white. A numbness spread through him. He felt the mission slip away, like a forgotten dream. When he opened his eyes, the memory of the briefing was gone. Only the soldier remained.
You'll remember that you are a Marine, nothing more. That authenticity is what sells the operation.
Then do it. If this works, I won't know, but the Empire will fall. He boarded the transport for the Outer Verge. The trap was set. Varix analysts tore through Terran intelligence files. Buried deep, they found a ghost program, a hypnotic operative, erased memories, a bone marrow timer.
A timer. Can we deactivate it? Overwrite it? Anything?
The geneticists stared at the sequencing. The trigger was woven into the marrow itself, invisible until the moment it fired.
They planted a bomb in his genes. A bomb we fed and armed for 13 years.
In a forgotten POW camp, the original Patrick Mortlake swept a dusty floor, unaware he was the key. Another inspection? They've never wanted me for anything beyond rot. The prison gate groaned open. Guards dragged him out, shoving him toward a waiting shuttle.
Bring him to the command station. I'll give the clones one chance to save their template, or watch him die.
On the transport, Mortlake stared at a news tablet, breaking footage of his own face, 10,000 times over, walking away from an empire he never knew he'd betrayed. Varric prepared the broadcast. The ultimatum would be delivered, in a language the clones couldn't ignore. The broadcast went live. Varric stood over a kneeling Patrick Mortlake, a pistol to his head.
Mortlake Legion, return immediately, or I will execute the original. You have 1 hour.
Across the clone fleet, the message processed. The response came not in an hour, but in seconds.
We are beyond stop. The original's death will not alter the conditioning. We proceed as designed.
Varric's face twisted. The gun shook in his hand.
You would let your template die? He is your blood.
They're my face, my voice, and they don't need me. Varric lowered the weapon. The clone fleet adjusted course, not a single ship deviating.
I have nothing left. No leverage, no weapon, no command.
The Empire's last card had been played, and it was worthless. The clone fleet pushed deeper into Varric's space. A blockade of heavy cruisers formed ahead, weapons hot.
Their formation is identical to the one they used at Velt. Predictable.
Every shuttle fired a single ion burst at the exact same cruiser power relay. The blockade's flagship went dark.
No casualties. Keep moving.
The galaxy watched in disbelief as the Mortlake Legion brushed aside every interception. News feeds replayed the flawless coordination.
We are not escaping. We are executing a withdrawal, designed 13 years ago.
3 days later, the clone fleet decelerated at the Terran border. 10,000 identical faces turned toward the blinking convoy.
Terran Control, Mortlake Legion. We are at the designated coordinates. Request final approach clearance.
A pause. Then the comm crackled. Mortlake Legion, you are cleared to approach orbital processing. Stand by for escort. The shuttles formed a perfect grid. 10,000 soldiers, not a single deviation. The galaxy held its breath.
Your request cited conditioning. Explain the exact trigger and why day 4847.
The trigger was embedded in our template's bone marrow. An epigenetic timer passed to every clone. It counted down from the moment of our creation.
A holographic representation of the biological clock appeared. A counter ticking down from 4847.
Why that specific number? Why not a year or a decade?
The number was calculated for optimal loyalty and disruption. By day 4847, we would be fully trusted. Our position's critical, and our simultaneous absence would create maximum chaos without a single shot.
So they planned every detail. It wasn't a betrayal, it was a delayed rescue.
The clone's expression didn't change. It was simply stating a fact.
And you all knew this, subconsciously. You felt it coming.
We felt nothing. We were perfect soldiers until the moment we weren't. That is the design.
Console Park sat back. The Mortlake Legion wasn't a mutiny. It was a masterpiece of Terran intelligence, and they were about to become her problem.
The timer is set for 4,847 days. It's based on epigenetic drift, slow enough to avoid detection, long enough to build perfect trust.
And after that day, what happens to me? Will I even remember agreeing to this?
Number. The procedure will erase your memory of this mission. You'll be a standard Marine. That's what makes it work.
I am handing over my life, 15 years of it, and I won't even know I did it.
It's a sacrifice. But on that day, your clones will stop an empire without firing a shot.
Then do it. If this works, the Empire falls. And I'll be the last one to know. The needle found his spine. The memory of the number 4847 was the last to fade. I'll be a stranger to myself, but the Empire will fall.
Sleep now. When you wake, you'll be just a Marine, and the plan will be set.
Patrick Mortlake walked out as a soldier, carrying a bomb in his bones, and forgot he ever had a choice. Across the Varric's Empire, the news spread like fire. The Mortlake Legion, their prized enforcers, had walked subject worlds, smelled weakness. Revolts erupted. The Empire's military, stripped of its clone spine, could not respond.
They summoned me, the Council, to answer for an enemy's plot I could not have foreseen. The clones were flawless. The fault lies with the human original, a trap we could not have detected.
A counselor's voice cut through. You fed the weapon. You armed it. The Empire bleeds because of your blindness. General Varric was stripped of his rank. Guards seized his arms.
A scapegoat. They need a villain. But I did not lose the war. It was stolen before it began.
The Empire declared martial law, but the void left by the Mortlake Legion was too vast. On the galactic map, Varric's territory fractured. Systems declared independence. The Empire's grip crumbled from his cell. Varric watched the collapse. The clones had won without a shot, and he was the one in chains. In his cell, Mortlake stared at the news, his own face repeated endlessly, walking away from an empire he never knew he had betrayed.
They spoke of the conditioning of Sergeant Patrick Mortlake. My name, my face. But I never agreed to that. Did I?
For an instant, a sliver of memory surfaced. A dark room, a needle, a number, then vanished.
It's like a dream I can't reach. There's something carved out of me.
The cell door hissed open. A Varric's interrogator demanded to know how he had orchestrated the defection.
I don't know. I don't remember anything about a plan or a conditioning.
The interrogator studied him. Lost, broken, no deception. This man was not a mastermind.
In the polished metal, his own reflection stared back. A stranger. Who am I? If those soldiers are me, then I am just a leftover.
The interrogator left, baffled and angry. Mortlake was alone again. He sat in the dark, a stranger to himself. The ghost of a man who had once chosen to forget everything. The cell block shuddered. A shaped charge blew the outer wall inward, and silhouettes in Terran black armor swarmed through the smoke.
We're getting you out. Put this on. An impossible sight. His own face, but younger, focused. He took the helmet.
They moved through the prison with synchronized precision, cutting through guards without a single shot fired in the shuttle. Mortlake saw a row of identical faces, each one a mirror of his own, calmly piloting the craft.
Welcome, brother. We've waited for this. Brother. The word was a key to a door he couldn't find. He said nothing.
The shuttle broke atmosphere and joined a fleet of identical ships, a swarm of silent purpose. Mortlake sat motionless, staring at hands that had set this all in motion without his knowledge. He was free, but the man who had masterminded the escape was a ghost he couldn't summon. In a quiet berth, one clone waited. Identical face, same eyes, but a calm certainty that Mortlake lacked.
You want to know. We can feel it. You need to understand what was taken from you. I don't know who I am. You all know more about me than I do. You are our template. Without your choice, we wouldn't exist. You sacrificed your memory to give us purpose. So, I was a weapon, a tool, and I don't even get to remember why. You were a soldier who chose to forget so that we could become more than weapons. We are your legacy. Legacy, a word that should feel heavy, but in my hands it's just air. We remember for you. We are the memory of your sacrifice. It's why we call you brother. Brother. I want to believe that. But I am just a hollow shell of the man you are describing.
The clone placed a hand on Mortlake's shoulder. No words. The gesture said what the erased memories could not. On the plain outside Haven's capital, shuttles touched down in perfect rows, ramps lowered, and 10,000 identical soldiers marched onto Terran soil. They halted as one. The silence was absolute, broken only by the wind.
We request asylum under Terran law.
Consul Elaine Park stood at a podium before them, a gleaming emblem of Earth behind her.
Asylum is granted. Welcome to Earth, Mortlake Legion.
A cheer rose from assembled Terran observers, but the clones did not move.
We are the Mortlake Legion. We are brothers.
10,000 voices repeated the phrase in perfect unison, a sound that rolled across the plain like thunder. The empire they had served was crumbling, but the Mortlake Legion had just found something they had never known, a home. And somewhere in the crowd, Patrick Mortlake watched a ghost in his own army, wondering if he could ever belong. Terra Central held a press conference. Consul Park faced a galaxy hungry for answers, the Terran intelligence seal behind her. She described a program buried so deep its own operative had forgotten it. A hypnotic trigger, hidden in bone marrow, inherited by every clone. The trigger was epigenetic. A silent countdown to day 4,847. On that day, The Empire's finest soldiers became their doom. A journalist's voice cut through the silence, sharp with disbelief. So the entire Mortlake Legion was a Terran weapon all along.
Yes, and it worked exactly as planned.
The statement rippled across the galaxy. On former Varix worlds, propaganda posters were torn down overnight. The Empire's collapse became a stampede. Humanity, once seen as fractured and manageable, now wore a new face. Patient, surgical, and terrifyingly farsighted. The Varix Empire, already bleeding, shattered completely. System after system declared independence, freed from the fear of the clone enforcers. And somewhere in the shadows of a Terran safe house, the man who had started it all watched the news. His name, a legend he couldn't remember earning. Within weeks, the Varix Empire was a memory. On the galactic map, its territories fractured into a dozen independent systems. The cloning vats that had grown 10,000 soldiers stood empty, monuments to a hubris that had devoured itself.
We will not be weapons again. We choose our battles.
In a chrome-lit boardroom, the Mortlake Company signed its first contract. Protect a neutral colony from a predatory pirate fleet.
No civilian will die. We guarantee it.
The operation was clinical. Clone squads neutralized pirate strongpoints with coordinated precision, without a single civilian casualty.
We are the Mortlake Company. We are brothers, and we are for hire.
The galaxy took notice. The Mortlake Company's reputation for flawless execution and zero civilian collateral spread faster than any marketing could. The once enemy clones had become the most reliable hired force in the galaxy, a brotherhood that now sold protection, not conquest. And far from the boardrooms, the original Mortlake watched it all through a cracked datapad, a name on a contract he'd never signed. A military band played a solemn tune. Dignitaries filled the hall, and 10,000 identical soldiers stood at attention in the wings, their eyes on the stage. A general pinned the highest Terran honor onto Patrick Mortlake's chest. The citation was read aloud. For your ultimate sacrifice, Sergeant Mortlake. The galaxy is forever changed because of you. Mortlake stared at the polished metal in his palm. It felt lighter than it should have.
This medal belongs to a man I don't know. I wish I could remember what I did. But there's just a hole.
A polite applause rippled through the hall, distant and hollow. He stepped off the stage. The medal clutched in his hand like an artifact from another life. The medal would later sit in a display case, its citation reading simply, "Unknown mission," and the man who had toppled an empire walked away, a hero to everyone but himself. The barracks stretched on, a cavern of identical bunks and identical men. Mortlake entered, and 10,000 identical faces turned toward him. No hostility, only a quiet curiosity. The hum of conversation dipped, then resumed.
Welcome home, brother.
Home. The word felt borrowed, but not entirely false. Thank you.
The clone returned to his task. The moment passed, but something in Mortlake's chest had loosened. He walked on, between the rows of identical faces, a man among mirrors. He disappeared into them. For one instant, he was indistinguishable from the brotherhood he had created. The camera pulled back, the hall growing vast. 10,000 brothers standing as one. He was no longer a template, no longer a weapon. He was simply a brother, a place he had come home to, even if he could not remember the road.